Well, now we're live. I want to do it. We're live. What's up, people? How you doing? I know we late, extremely late, but we good though.
You know? Shit.
Yeah,
that was unpleasant.
Yeah. Remember the first, you know what I'm saying, 2 minutes. You feel me? You want to keep it smooth and cool and copacetic.
Thank you for reminding me. Thank you for reminding me. Because I would not have.
Yes.
Yeah, no, you don't got no good sense.
You were ready to drop something. I know you would.
Actually, before we start, once we get some people in here, it's a conversation I gotta have with our audience because there was some clarity that we was able to establish that I think we gotta let be known. I just want to say it out loud so we all on the same page type shit. Shout out to everybody.
My bad. Go ahead.
No, I was just saying shout out to everybody that's joining. Everybody on YouTube, everybody on Facebook, on the Consciously YouTube, on the Consciously Facebook, on the Chop Up YouTube, on the Chop Up Facebook. We got we got some interesting conversations for y'all today. Let me say this though, as y'all come in, I want to make this one thing clear. We've been doing this for a while, you know what I mean? But as we continue to do it and we continue to understand ourselves and more as we grow, and especially as we start to scale and start to branch out into bigger things, it's one thing we want to make clear. Like, we black people, you know what I'm saying? We be on black stuff, okay? We are not another TMZ. We are not a gossip rag. We are not, you know what I'm saying? You're not gonna get what's the shade room? We're not them. You feel me? This is an educational podcast. You're dealing with 3 educators. You know what I mean? So the dialogue that we're gonna bring to y'all, we hoping that y'all come here to be able to take in information, develop a language, learn, you know what I'm saying, concepts and those. Because if we not giving y'all that, then we not doing our job. You feel me? If because like Lee say, you know what I'm saying, education is elevation. That's really like the mentality of the squad, like, period. You know what I mean? He branded it, but that's the mentality we live by. You feel me? But we also understand that in order for the education to be effective, it also has to be entertaining. You know what I mean? You have to be able to connect with it. You feel me? And so that's why the conversations and the dialogue that we have be about the culture. But understand, this ain't about, we not trying to give y'all just, our opinion on some salacious stuff that's going on amongst black people. We really want our audience to look at it as like, you know what I mean? Like it's a lesson plan in there. You know what I'm saying? It's a curriculum, you know what I mean, that you could develop based off of the conversation. So just want to put that out there.
With that being said, it sounds like we need to start the show the way we always start the show.
Hey, you already know. Let's get it.
In the city, we gon' slide, bet I be there pronto. Me, my guys, we really live. Lord forgive me, pay my tithes. Please don't have me reach inside. And that's in the console. Keep the semi when I ride. Lit off Henny when I drive. In the city, we gon' slide. Bet I be there pronto.
Bet I be there pronto is in like right now, is in like in this moment. It is time for the Chop Up Show. What's going on? It's your girl Toya G. Happy to be with y'all on another Thursday night. Y'all know we slid from Mondays to Thursdays, so we happy y'all moved on with us. If y'all came in here and popped in and y'all haven't let us know where y'all represent, go ahead and talk to us in the chat. We want to see where on earth. Y'all know we used to watch that show, Where on Earth is Carmen San Diego. We want to know where on earth you was at right now. So go ahead and look in the chat. We appreciate y'all popping in tonight. Hey, it's a blessing to see y'all. Happy March. A lot of people showing love from our time at the NAACP Awards, at the NAACP Live Experience. Thank y'all so much for tapping in and rocking with us for that. I'm just grateful for y'all to be here. We got a lot of great conversations. We're going to talk about justice. We're going to talk about Women's History Month. We're going to talk about some Biden-esque things that we need to be thinking about and considering. So with that, I ain't by myself. Who else I'm with?
Y'all know what it is, man. I started out ranting. I'm gonna keep it going. This what we do this for. Stamo, the political plug. It's a conversation we gotta have tonight. We have to talk about it.
Education,
not the Jussie Smollett shit. Not the Jussie Smollett shit.
I mean, we're gonna get on the Jussie Smollett shit, but the main point that Damo was trying to hit home is that we're not just a podcast that's gonna be giving you sound bites of trendy events. You feel me? There's a method to the madness, and there's always a purpose to, you feel me, the shit that we talking about. You feel me? With that being said, this is an educational, philosophical goddamn podcast, you know, and hey, theconsciously.com is where you can find me at. And you know, tonight we got us some good conversations coming in. Shout out to all the wonderful women worldwide. You feel me? March is Women's History Month, and you feel me? We're gonna be having a conversation about that. Shout out to the first time viewers from Cincinnati, Ohio. You know, fuck yo the ghost. You know what I'm saying? Shout out to Canada, Kentucky. We got Dallas in this thing. Florida.
I see Johannesburg in here. I see Johannesburg in the building. Like, what's happening?
Hey, Johannesburg. We got Lancaster. Hey, you feel me? Amish country.
Amish country. 313 Avenue. I don't know where that is, but we got your. I don't know if that's even a real address, but we have your coordinates. So thank you for dropping in. But all of y'all, you know what I'm saying? Bronx in the building.
Hey, shout out to
listen. We're gonna go ahead and jump into the Snapchat for the night, because as much as, you know, everybody's framed as us being an educational podcast, we know we get education from real life. We know we learn from a lot of the experiences around us and a lot of the discussions and conversations we have. You know, it's not just about talking about it. We always have to ask ourselves, what's the angle? What can we learn? What are we pulling from this? And so with that, I do want to start off with a little bit of what we've heard about breaking news as far as this afternoon, which is the Jussie Smollet case and the outcome of his trial, where he was found guilty. And he had already been found guilty. It was his sentencing, and he was sentenced to 30 months of felony probation, including 150 days in jail. He was ordered to pay restitution of more than $120,000 and a $25,000 fine for making false reports to the police that he was a victim of a hate crime in January 2019. Now, we've been watching and seeing this issue unfold for a while. If you go look at the Chop Up Show Chronicles, y'all see it's a conversation we've had as the wheels have spun, some may say out of control, since 2019 about this particular issue, right? And so
I thought it was over with. I thought it was done, to be honest.
I mean, what we're seeing is that a lot of these cases are taking just a long time. They're dragging out for one reason or another. And so, you know, this one is no different from that. My question, I guess, to y'all.
Yeah, Brian Texas, shout out to Billy George too. My bad.
It's all good. My question to y'all about what we just heard about the whole sentencing is, do y'all think, a lot of people was just like, jail is wild for this. So do you feel like, you know, the punishment fits the crime? Let's start there. Do you feel like there was an adequate justice, right? We got to be honest. Jussie, and we'll get to his pleas for innocence later, but was found guilty, lied and betrayed the trust of both Black communities and queer communities, right? Had us in a heated conversation socially about that's why they don't take us serious now. Used up police resources. This has been long and drawn out, so on and so forth. And so y'all just heard me drop the laundry list of things he was hit with: 30 months of probation, 150 days in jail, restitution, $120,000, $25,000 fine, and so on and so. And I mean, blackballing. A lot of people saying his sister should be so ashamed. People saying Johnny Smollett should be saddened by the family.
Legend in the game.
But it's wild how they doing this, man. Yeah. So let's go ahead and lay it out. Do y'all feel like the punishment fits the crime? And the chat, I see some hell no's. I see some Darius Cope said no. He should have gotten more time.
No, I mean,
I'm gonna read the comments in a minute. I'm asking y'all right now.
More time. Listen, when we live in a world where a little white boy could kill somebody, a couple people, and walk smooth, nothing, ain't gotta sit down, not a nail. Yeah. But this brother, you know what I'm saying, got to do any jail time, like even given the circumstances. It's like, nah, I can never justify any, like, regardless of the circumstances that the people are involved with, because it's the United States justice system. I can never justify that they response. You know what I'm saying? Like I can't delineate between when it's because somebody Black or because it's what they did. Because since our justice system is so more hell-bent on distinguishing people as opposed to actually actions themselves, then there is no instance where what's given out to the person of color is justified based on the circumstances that it's operating in, period. You can never legitimize the United States justice system at all.
Right.
Period. And based off of all the social media things that's been sensationalized for all of the different white women's barbecue Becky, permit Patty, all the different people that have called the police and made false, accusations, made false crimes, said they dog got ran over, said they got hit, said all this, and it's like they didn't see jail time. So for me, from a legal perspective, I thought that the American legal system is set on precedents. I think that there were multiple precedents that was set that would say that Jussie Smollett should not be seeing, prison time, even if you believe that he was wholeheartedly lying out the side of his neck. You feel me? So for me, he's just thinking of the precedent and how the American justice system doesn't have the same energy when it comes to people making false claims against black people, and when you feel like black people are making false claims. And that's really how I see it. Like, where is the precedent in this in terms of legality? But
I mean, and this is, go ahead, Toy.
No, please, because I'll just transition into that in a second. Go ahead.
Well, no, I mean, because George's point about precedents tie into what I'm saying. To answer that question of if it's problematic, because it's definitely responding to something in the comments about whether it's problematic to just say, well, white people got away with it. The law is based off precedents, period. And if we're looking at how the law responds to one group of people, and then we're looking at them respond to another group of people in a completely different way, that means that there's a flaw in there, right? Like that you can't look at the law as the letter of the law because the way that it's doled out. Like that's why it's so hard to justify a lot of the conversations associated with crime and punishment as opposed to drug dealing in black communities, or how black people relying on criminal activities to do certain type of things, because we have two completely different relationships.
Yeah,
I mean, and those relationships are established based off of what we know about the law. Not it's just like there's a relationship where it's like, nah, we just doing wrong. No, it's clearly not actions that's establishing how the law is choosing to respond. Period.
And then the last thing I want to throw in there for Toy to say something. This part I meant to say this just a minute ago. I'm about to make a TikTok video about this shit too, probably tomorrow. Jussie Smollett got more time than a lot of the people that infiltrated the American government on January 6th.
Bro.
So how in the hell is treason, or you running into state property and taking podiums and doing all this here? How you getting less time than somebody that quote unquote lied to the police?
Yeah, this is when people can't take the system seriously, and this is what I was kind of getting at and thinking, that you have these weird paradoxes like that. These inexplicable kind of happenings and instances that just really don't make a lot of logical sense. You also have the paradoxical relationship that I think black people have with the law, and this is another great example of it, because in instances where innocent people, get away, guilty people end up being found innocent, right? And then people who we know are guilty end up getting away with their crimes. It's just like, we have to constantly kind of ebb and flow with how the system works, even though it is a weird relationship we have to it. It's really hard to champion some decisions and be excited about them because we know these are injustices largely. But on the other side, when people go to jail for the crimes they commit against us, when they get held accountable for the shit that they need to be held accountable for, we get excited about the system and the law working right. So it's just like this weird, ironic, and we have to racialize the issue because he is a black queer man who is yelling out about a hate crime. We have to kind of center the weird and awkwardness that we feel in situations like this, where you want the law to do its job, but you also feel like the law is being way heavy-handed here where missed opportunities elsewhere. So I don't know. This is one of those moments where I just think,
do you though? Do you want the law to do its job?
I mean,
that's the whole point of doing it.
I think so. Like my argument has always been that, okay, so let's think about the law, let's think about the state, let's just think about systems and structures of power as they exist now. Right, white supremacy has been the engine to guide that structure. Right, you imagine have a frame of a car. The frame of the car is not dangerous. It can't kill nobody. It can't run no lights. It can't do nothing until you put an engine and put some gas in that hole. And then all of a sudden it's off to the races. Right. So when I look at African people, for example, right, the originators of civilization, the people who constructed the ways that we know how to live and be as civil society and as a structured society, we know that black people, we know that Africans historically had systems of structure and law. It wasn't a free for all. Right, there were legal systems, there were systems of accountability, there were ways of community living where you held people accountable to doing negative things. I I say I just want to complete this thought by saying I think what we see when you ask the question, do we want the legal system to work right? Like, I think the answer is yes. We just don't want this bastardized version of a system that we created to be the one that we use, that is used to penalize and very punitively work against us most of the time.
Well, I mean, let me say this. I think that there's throughout, like, within culture, right? There's different like laws that exist. You know what I mean? Like, whether it's like how we operate in our neighborhood, our community, how we operate amongst our friends, how we operate like you know what I mean, at somebody at like with status, right? It's ways that type of shit get handled, right? So I think ultimately there's no conversation about like, yeah, he should be like he definitely needs to be clowned and ostracized for this to some degree,
yes,
right?
With
to some degree,
like we did Barbecue Becky, and how we did Permit Patty, and how we did, you feel me,
Karen, yeah,
whatever. Like, to me, it's like,
I mean, he already got his own. He had his own Dave Chappelle joke. Like, he had his own Dave Chappelle.
Not, you feel me? Like, you know what I'm saying? To me, it's like criminality is crazy with this one. You feel me? Like,
but that's why it's like. But that's why I when I posed the question, do we want the law to do its job? Because like when it comes to like when it's a factor, right? Y'all talk about that frame. That frame
like,
is
doing his job. It's locking niggas up.
Like, wait, that's what I'm saying. The frame is like, what's the like? What we using the frame for? Are we putting it in a truck? Or are we putting it in a van? Like, what is being utilized for? And that's literally becomes the only relevance. We know that the ideology and the theory and the weapons and the rhetoric and all that, it exists. We know that, right? But the question becomes,
universe.
Shout out to you. The question becomes, how is that being used? Do I trust how a person is like the judge in front of me, right? If I'm a black man in Alabama, do I feel the same way about the judge in front of me if I'm a black man in California, or if I'm a black man in Kansas, or a black man in Boston, right? It's certain relationships, like it's certain things that people in California don't have to worry about than people in Alabama. But technically, the justice system is supposed to rock the same in similar ways. But when culture plays such a huge role in how like the justice system operate, and like it's an enemy that's identified, and we see within that system that enemy, you know what I mean, being targeted and being, you know what I'm saying, treated specifically, and that system not doing that same thing across, you know what I'm saying, other groups of people. Then the question becomes, do you want them to do their job? What do they think their job is?
That's
an important question, though. That is an important question to ask.
It is. I mean, and I think we see a lot of different examples of the perception of what they do in their job. Cheryl Carter Ellis just dropped in. Ryan Coogler is a great kind of example of the over-policing, the misapproach, the misorientation of doing their job that we can kind of talk about. I don't want to go down a what do they call it? You know, a tunnel.
Rabbit hole.
The rabbit hole is what they call it.
I
don't want to go down one of those with the Ryan Coogler conversation because it's actually a whole separate conversation. But what I do want to talk about is, you know, we are having this whole conversation under the assumption, and shout out to Granny Wowzers. Thank you so much for showing love to us. We definitely appreciate that. We are having this whole conversation with the predisposition that he's guilty. Everybody, the court of public opinion, the court of law, have both asserted that he did this, right? My take on it is that I think the jail time is too much. If, in fact, he did it and the evidence proved it within a shadow of a doubt, I think everything else, minus the fines. I'm kind of iffy about the fines, but community service, I think restitution in some amount, maybe not 120,000 plus another 25,000. I think that's too much, but jail time, absolutely take that off the table. Now that that's being said, let's look at what Jussie Smollett has asserted consistently from the time he made the accusations to the time the accusations got turned back around on him, all throughout his court case, and even today after he was sentenced. His words to the judge was, "Judge, I respect you. I have a lot of respect for you and who you are, but I'm innocent, and I do not want to take my own life." Now, he had these outbursts. He made outbursts, right? He was masked and covered the entire time. Y'all watch the footage, it's all over the internet, of when the sentence was released and he was able to speak. He made two assertions. He said, "Judge, first thing I want you to know is that I'm innocent. I respect you, but I am innocent of this crime." So he maintains his innocence. And the second thing he said was, "Ed, I am not suicidal. I do not want to take my own life." Now, a lot of people looked at those statements and was like, man, you having an episode. This your problem now. That's why you in there now. You talk too much. You saying too much. This is not an episode of what was the name of the show?
Empire.
Empire. This is not an episode of Empire. Right? So you're doing the most, but a lot of people said, or kind of looked at that moment like he pleading his innocence down to the very end in these very verbose actions. And the second thing is that jail is not kind to Black queer people. It's not kind to queer folks in general. And the kind of spectacle that has come of this means that he knows that he is at risk and vulnerabilities of people in jail and both the police and the law in jail. Right. So he is making a statement that, you know what I'm saying? Like, I'm if I die, basically, I took it as if I die, I didn't do it. They killed me. They took my life.
Most definitely.
Do you all feel like, and this is, you don't want to judge these moments of, please for compassion, these very real authentic moments where people are just kind of trying to plead their innocence. But how do you take that moment? Like, I didn't see it. I'm just kind of describing it to y'all. But do y'all feel like, man, this is just you being extra? Or do you feel like he has a reason to ride his perspective out and make these statements down to the end?
I mean, of course, like, you already been found guilty. Like, it ain't like it really like you're gonna stand by what your initial statements. But it's hard though. Like it's just like how I feel about celebrity culture, and I do feel that this whole thing is just ridiculous at the end of the day. Like the assertion, what he was accused of, him being found guilty, like the jail time, like all of it is just like each way is nonsense. So it's like it's one of them things where you hope that it's just like, all right, he being dramatic, and it's just it's a Hollywood outburst. I hope that because at the end of the day, like if it turns into something like that, like that's like him like dying from whatever circumstances, it's ridiculous. It's crazy. Like that would be crazy. So it's just like you hope it's some Hollywood shit. Like okay. I can't do nothing. You can't do nothing more with that. Like
Lee, same thing.
I think it's smart. I think it was the smartest assertion to make, because I seen somebody in the comment section literally talk about, like, we have to take into account also his celebrity status. And in my mind, he's recognizing that his celebrity status, his finances did not, save him from his Blackness. And he recognizes that there's a potential for him to be harmed and or for him to be, killed in jail. So he's letting people know, I'm not suicidal, and I'm not allowing for this little 200-day sentence to make it where I'm defining my whole life or I don't want to live no more, or some shit like that. And I recognize, just from a perspective, if you already feel like you're being taken advantage of and feel like you're not in control, you want to make sure, hey, I'm innocent. I did not do this. Also, I want to live.
Yeah.
To me, it makes sense. To me, you feel me? Almost like to me, it's like after we seen what happened to Sandra Bland, when we seen it happen to a few other Black people, you feel me? It's like thinking about, hey, I wanted to just make sure, listen, y'all can call me crazy right now, but I hope you recognize the sameness in my voice and saying I have the will to live and I want to live. And that's part of that, to me, I think, comes in. Yes?
I mean, because the assumption is that, like, and correct me if I'm wrong, is that like they'll kill him in jail. Now we'll deal with the real reality that, being queer in prison, specifically a male prison, make you a target immediately. Like, having that fame attached to him ain't no better. You know what I mean? And so, that he is in a heightened level of danger given the circumstances he about to be in. But the hope is that, like I said, there's been a lot of famous people in jail. You know what I'm saying? Like they done rocked it out. They was able to get it through. The hope is that he able to be in those same type of circumstances, and then because his celebrity status is actually more of like if he go in there and something happened to him, you know what I mean? Like I just don't think that's a real risk like that.
Well, so there is a lot left to this story, and that's something a lot of people are saying in his comments, that, you know, the surface level, the media reporting, the local Chicago politics at play, there's a lot of things in the backdrop of this whole story. So I'm interested in it, and I think I want to spend some time kind of doing some more specific social media investigating. I used to just get on Twitter and kind of just search for some stuff and see what's good. But even outside of those specific details, I think I want to sew this up and kind of tie it up and turn it back over to y'all by conclusively saying that when you are Black and queer in America, when you are Black in America, when you are a marginalized population in America, you are subject to experiencing hate crimes, right? You are subject to those things, and your only hope and only prayer is that people believe you when you talk about what, you know, has been so normalized or been so kind of just another, you know, person making a complaint, or just another person kind of complaining about their marginalized identity. You don't want it to be swept under the rug. You want it to be taken serious. And so my only hope throughout all of this is that if trauma was actually experienced, if violence actually happened, you know what I'm saying, that, you know, there's some people out there showing him love, caring about him, being empathetic to a situation, you know what I'm saying? Because, I mean, we understand that when it's all said and done in this society, you get subject to the court of public opinion before you get subject to anything else. I hate to look at this person, and I know he's been a proven abuser in the past, so I'm not giving him a pass for that when I say this, but you got Chris Brown, who was recently found innocent of some recent, you know, rape allegations that were brought up against him. And so you have an instance where false accusations do also take place. People do lie about the things that have happened to them, or that it's messy. And when we live our lives under microscopes like this, it becomes unfortunate, you know what I'm saying? Because we're dealing with a person who it's three sides of the story: his side, the court side, and the side that, you know what I'm saying, really happened and how it really played out. So in those moments, you know what I'm saying, we got to leave space for the realities that people do really experience stuff like this every single day. Don't know if he's lying or not. And I hate that his outcome is the way that it is with this whole sentence, but I mean, it's something to think about. You know, people struggling through being targeted every day of their life. And every now and again, we got to stop and make sure we're taking them serious. But that's just me.
Yeah, man. With that being said, we gonna, I guess, us that care about what's going on with Jesse, we gonna pay attention and see what's going on and what comes out. But we gonna slide to this conscious chop. Today is March 10th. You feel me? We in the month of March. March is known as Women's History Month. And before I start dropping the jewels tidbits about, you know, when the history of Women's History Month, I'm just curious, when did y'all learn about Women's History Month?
Definitely in my adult life.
Like when I got into college.
Yeah, like definitely didn't know it was a thing. Didn't know that. I mean, after Black History Month, you just like, okay, that was fun. That was nice. Learned a lot of stuff. Did a lot of Black things. St. Patrick's Day, right? And so that's really the way you start to frame the next holiday and the next movement.
Cinco de Mayo.
What? I mean, that's in May. We still got 2 more months before we get there. But I don't know.
For me,
it was probably in grad school, when you start getting those real big calendars, and you know the diversity initiatives in schools want to make sure every month of the calendar got something to celebrate, something to do. And really, that's what I took it as. Like, y'all come up with a month for everything. Y'all want something to celebrate. Y'all just want something to make sure y'all's little diversity departments have something to do. And then all of a sudden I was like, oh shoot, this is a real thing. It's international and it's something important. And so all I have to say, as a woman, I did not know about Women's History Month until I was a grown woman, which was interesting.
Wow. Especially when we go over the history of it. I'm gonna wait till Damo though, and then I'm gonna drop that.
Yeah, like I said, college, like that's when I first probably when I first got introduced to women's studies. Like it was probably around that same time. Like that wasn't even the thing that was on the radar, to be for real. But the wild thing about it to me though, and I guess this may be more conversation that we get into later, it was just that, like, I feel like Mother's Day kind of represented that. Like, so like May, you know what I mean? I guess was kind of, you know what I mean, what we had. So because I had like a lot of grandmas. So Mother's Day was like a big fucking deal, because it was like we had a lot of people to see and a lot of people to get gifts for and a lot of people to show love to. You know what I mean? So I think that was the closest. Before I got to college, the closest we had to Women's History Month was Mother's Day. That was about it.
Okay.
Sounds about right.
Okay.
I mean, literally, I think the only time during the year where we really just take time to be like women, which is why it's always so funny when dads be mad about Father's Day, because stop. But anyway, I'm not here for that battle. We'll wait and especially y'all daddies don't
do that.
Let me not
in the comment section, y'all let us know too. When did you first hear about the history of Women's History Month? Or actually, when did you first learn about Women's History Month? But it's to give y'all a little history on Women's History Month. This comes from womenshistorymonth.gov. It says that Women's History Month had its origins as a national celebration in 1981, before all three of us was born, which is still wild. So like, how the hell was it a thing before we was born, but we didn't learn about it until well in our adult life? But Congress passed a bill which authorized and requested the president to proclaim the week beginning March 7th in 1982 as Women's History Week. Throughout the first 5 years, though, however, Congress continued to pass joint resolutions that designating the week in March as Women's History Week. In 1987, after being petitioned by the National Women's History Project, Congress passed Pub L 100-9, which designated the month of March 1987 as Women's History Month. And in between 1988 and 1994, Congress passed additional resolutions requesting and authorizing that the president proclaim that March of each year of Women's History Month since 1995. The president has issued a whole bunch of things. Now that I threw that in there, we know the history of Women's History Month. I see some people say they learned about it 14 years ago. Some people say they learned about it 5 years ago. Some people say they learned about it in high school. The concept of Herstory. How do y'all feel about the concept of people using the terminology Herstory in juxtaposition to his story or history?
Lee, I'm sorry, Plug. Go ahead and take a stab at that. How do you feel about Herstory?
I think it's clever. I think it's clever. I mean, like I always say, man, like I'm very anti-establishment. So it's just like what I think the establishment is white male. You know what I'm saying? So like any perspective that is outside of that, you know what I mean, I think deserves like its own focus, like its own, you know what I mean, like conversation. Because too often, like that's what gets dictated. You know what I'm saying? That perspective, the white male perspective. And then we attempt to understand ourselves and like filter everything else through what's already been filtered to us. So we ain't got a lot of work. We ain't got a lot to work with. You know what I'm saying? So, I mean, I look at like the whole Herstory perspective. I don't think it's like counter to. You know what I mean? I think it's just it exists as its own thing. Like it's its own perspective. It's its own conversation, which is required specifically. And you know what I think, and let me just say this now, because when I knew we was going to talk about this is what I definitely want to make sure I got off. Specifically in an era where you got like Kevin Samuel type niggas rocking the way that they rock, like that shit, like that type of mentality, like that's why you need that like focus on that, because there's already an overinvestment in like this white plantation patriarchal understanding of being a man and masculinity that's like that we need to, without a doubt, like push back on wholeheartedly. You know what I mean? And so that I think that's starting with the perspective of women, specifically Black women, who have historically been denied the ability to. Let me say this real quick, and then we'll get to you, Toya. I had a debate about the Black feminism and whether or not it fractured the relationship between Black men and Black women. Right? Of course, I was the negative on that position. My opponent literally took no time. He took no time and effort to understand Black feminism. All the arguments that he came with specifically situated around white feminists and his criticism of white feminists. All the things that Black feminists say that they don't fuck with. He was specifically situated in the conversation. So like the idea that Black women had their own like field of thought was just completely lost on him. His only conversation was situated around how he understood Black feminists attempting to be like white women. So it was like, yeah, it's from that perspective, it's completely fucking necessary.
I will say, I think in relationship to Herstory, I kind of feel like Aquita here. Aquita said Herstory is definitely clever but unnecessary. Women's history is cool. Just make sure we speak up and tell our own story. And that's kind of my take on it. Like, I didn't ever want to be the woman that was like, all right. But I was always like, all right. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't need that. Like, you know, there are some gestures. Those are symbolic gestures. Those like kind of over drawn out efforts to like I'll give you a prime example, and this is again not to slight or to disrespect individuals who see or find empowerment in this language, right? But I'll give you another example. Women with the X, right? Like there are a lot of dialectical linguistic justifications for using it to leave space for trans women, this, that, and the other. But I think it over marginalizes them when they can just be women with an E, and they are just women, and we not try to over stimulate language or over encompass language to really kind of create more marginalization instead of just kind of putting them into the fold of what a woman is. I don't need to spell women with an X. I just want to honor you as a woman with an E, the same way as we understand what womanness is. It's something that is not fixed, that's not rigid, that's evolutionary, that's ever changing, that's boundless. You two are a woman, right? So when I look at history, I guess it's not a one-to-one relationship, but when I look at history, I'm just like, and I'm not. So Blossom is like, no, it's more than that. Completely willing to grant you that. Don't want to overstep my boundaries in terms of what the trans relationships to language, linguistics, and representation. I'm not trying to do that. This is just my orientation toward language. So when I look to Herstory, I'm just like, I don't need that. That is a gesture. I mean, and his story, I was a spoken word artist. I grew up doing a lot of poetry. So, there's a lot of breaking down.
That's why it's clever.
His story. I get it. And there's respect for it. It's just, I would rather spend time in relationship to history being like, I'm here and this is what it looked like. And I'm not about to split hairs over that little nuanced piece of language. So, but I just don't want to be misunderstood as thinking that language is not important. Language shapes reality, right? I'm a nigga user. I understand the reclamation of words and language and phraseologies. I'm a member of a queer community, so there are other words and languages that we use that you bet not. Like, I get all of that. I just feel like Herstory was a reach for me in terms of how I needed to readjust my language to put significance in center.
Yeah. I agree. I definitely understand and can agree. You know what I'm saying? Or I guess understand, I should say, both of y'all perspective in it. I guess how I see it is, it's definitely symbolic. You feel me? It's definitely a symbolic gesture. You know what I mean? But I also recognize that when I learned about semiotics and debate, you feel me, the study of symbols and shit like that, I recognize how there are a lot of masculine, patriarchal, male-dominating symbols that's seeing different, you feel me, signs or different signals to different folks, and it really influences how we value different narratives over other narratives. So I get it. You feel me? Like most of history is structured about significance and traditions that's centered around men. You know what I'm saying? So I get it. You feel me? But I feel like what you threw in there though was something that you want. Like, you know what I'm saying? As a woman saying it, it's just like, okay, I get that. But I recognize though the importance of symbols. Not saying nobody should be lost. You should be lost in the sauce of symbolism. I think that's what Toya is saying, basically. Like, don't be lost in the sauce of symbolism. But I get symbols matter. But don't get lost in the sauce. That's pretty much how I see it as well.
But I mean, I think what's missed though is like our relationship with symbols, though. Like our relationship with labels. Like I think this is where I see where Toya coming from, because it's like the goal is supposed to be to detach how we have like very specific concrete understandings of labels and allow these things to exist as, you know what I'm saying, multifaceted, right? So we can look at woman and be able to understand many different things from it, as opposed to saying it only means this, right? So that's why we all have this appreciation for the word nigga, because the one thing that we recognize is that it's totally multifaceted. You can't deny it. And completely, you know what I'm saying?
It's a pronoun, it's a verb.
It's everything, right? So it's like, at what point do we stop creating more labels and like really just learn to break through in our understanding of what we're looking at? You know what I mean? Because we know these things could mean different things, and we know it don't have to just mean that. But the language become concrete because the understanding is concrete based on the cultural upbringing, which makes it concrete. You feel me? And like from that perspective, it's like it again. It's clever, but it's like, is it the focus though? Like, is that?
See, to me, it ain't the labeling that's the issue. Is usually how we're able to differentiate and value in between those symbols or between those, you know what I'm saying, labels. You feel me? And I think that that's the important part for me. You know what I'm saying? How I recognize when I'm doing different trainings or workshops or even thinking about like difference and sameness. And, you know, me, I'm going to say lost in the sauce in a minute. So I think about like lost in the sauce of sameness or similarity about being how we focus on how we the same and make it where we are almost and always in opposition to the infinite ways that we're different. So how I think about it is like, hey, we might as well get the labeling. We can label all day. The question becomes, how do we create a hierarchy based off these labels? And to me, I feel like going further, you know what I'm saying, in the criticism is like, it's how we start to create different values on our differences. Instead of allowing for the differences to be
it's a sign, it's a connection to signs. There's a reason why, you know, I think you can watch some of the best quality basketball, some of the best athletes, some of the smartest, most talented people in the game of basketball in the WNBA. But because of the symbol of women, right, it automatically depreciates the brand of what they have to offer to what they're doing. Imagine if it was
diminishes.
Yeah, and I don't know another, you know, the United States Basketball Association, right? So I just wonder if they weren't like we have the NBA, the National Basketball Association. If the WNBA could be called the American Basketball Association, right? Which I know there used to be one, right? But stay with the logic. The United States Basketball Association, where it didn't have that symbolic nomenclature of women to automatically, perceptually, based on our culture, our experiences, the things that we've seen, degrade and devalue that brand. I just wonder if there will be a different association with that particular sport, with the likeness, because we, you know what I'm saying? So the same thing, when I hear herstory, I hear this kind of forced attempt to push in and pull in and create some type of linguistic name recognition that automatically depreciates what I'm about to offer you and how I'm about to censor it. Now, of course, you know, we just get to the facts, the nuts and bolts of the information, the history, and it's the herstory, and it's that. But even the slippages, trying to make sure I don't say history, trying to make sure, like, that's cumbersome. That is, you know, it takes away and detracts from my
cumbersome.
Let me tell you
what you mean by cumbersome? Hold on, whoa. Cumbersome.
Yeah, it's heavy. It's a laborious, extra, a burden.
Okay,
right?
Yeah.
I say this
like you come.
I'm actively listen, y'all. We're actively learning together because I say this, and I remember I told you, when you sound too much, I always say when you sound like the people too much like the people you're against, you got to be careful. And so I want to make sure I'm not slipping into sounding like individuals who don't have the time to learn pronouns. Now, I think these are completely different conversations. I think there are clear kind of differences in between that, but I also don't want to sound lazy. Like the people who are just like, I just say it like this. You just are what you are. I just know you like this. So why would I have to change the pronouns to call you something else? But I don't think they're the same thing. So I'm trying to be mindful and conscious and checking back to make sure my politics are consistent. I'm not one participating in cognitive dissonance. I truly believe, though, that herstory versus history supplants the purpose, the goal, the ambition. It kills the vibe of what we're trying to get to. Let's just talk about and center and put importance and significance on. And let's just lay the history out there and let it be what it is.
Hey, what's that? Kaylee Miller. Why she totally cumbersome?
No, I mean, because I think it's a level of just like self-policing that it come to where like I said, it's like, yo, we operate off of understanding, right? So it's like, ultimately, like, we develop a certain ethos to where, like, you understand what's being said. You know what I mean? Now that there is, right, you have the politic, and it must be understood, right? Now that we become cognizant of more things, you feel me? It just becomes difficult. You feel to have to take, because like you said, sounding like the people that you don't rock with. So I want to be clear with my language. I'll just say this: there's an overinvestment.
Mm-hmm.
There's an overinvestment in that type of policing, as opposed to, again, focusing on broadening the understanding, right? And so it's like when somebody, like, when it's spoken, because of the ethos that you develop either with your audience or with the people you rock with, there is a level of, like, I get what's being said. As opposed to, this is what this sound like, and I have a problem with what this sound like.
Maximum Theato. No, I said that wrong.
Tatao.
Yeah.
I think
Herstory
your simple statement might have just trying to make me think like, damn, it might be a little capitalist ploy to go on and be able to monetize some
neoliberal
feminine, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, neoliberalism, I think, is a
it's the neoliberal approach to let's throw it on a t-shirt.
Then that legitimizes it at the same time. We're gonna sell that t-shirt though. You know what I'm saying? It's a brand now. I think that along with this comment really kind of speak volumes to me. I had this up. I want to come back to it. New Nyambi says we have to find the balance between creating spaces for the voiceless and creating a million different terms that mean the same damn thing. And this is true. And it's such a fine line we have to walk because you want to leave space. You want to allow for individuals to be seen and to feel represented in the movement. So of course, as a queer person, I look at LGBTQIA plus, right? And I, have not decided. I will say this: I have not decided how I feel about whether or not it's too long or whether or not we needed to do all of that, because I understand representation and seeing yourself as a part of a community. I will say I have laughed at jokes at people who have made fun of how long it has gotten. So I'm in a precarious position. I think I probably benefit from privilege of being accounted for in some of the first kind of letters. I ascribe to the Q most specifically. You know what I'm saying? So I'm still kind of toward the middle. If not toward the end, I got lucky. They went past the T, but at that same time, I agree that only for the sake of not, and this is fine line. Again, I keep saying this because we don't care about what y'all think as straight people. We don't care what you think as white people. We're gonna name our realities and existences. We don't care what you think as people with abilities. You know what I'm saying? With normative abilities, we're gonna talk about disabilities in the ways that make sense to us and cohere for us in our community. And you just need to learn and catch up. Right. So that is true. At the same time, that it's true that it's like, if you don't want to completely turn off or lose or demotivate your same demographic from learning your stuff, we got to find a way to. So it's like, it's the age old question of how do we do that? I don't know. I'm imperfect in this analysis. I just understand the kind of hard parts of trying to get two worlds to cohere and come together. You both want to be seen, represented, and heard, but you also want people to do the seeing, the understanding, and the hearing. What do we do?
Agreed.
To make those worlds come together. It's the
a lot of nuance in there. A lot of nuance in there.
Real quick. There was a comment that asked for a quick explanation of neoliberalism.
Mm-hmm. That's what I was reading now. I throw it around so much. It's like, man, let me not give you a Negro explanation of neoliberalism. I want to give you.
That's exactly what I'm about to give you. No, I'm gonna give you a nigger explanation. Not even a Negro, a nigger explanation. Neoliberalism is the idea that you could spend money and make society better. That the progress of like how we think socially can be evolved or made better or pushed forward by capital, by commerce, by the economy, you know what I mean, by spending money, by, you know what I mean, selling things, you know what I mean, that type of that idea. So a lot of like hashtags, social media, activism, all of that shit, all of that is wrapped up in neoliberalism, because it's we create these billion-dollar social media platforms, and then we use these platforms to push the message at the people. You know what I mean?
The only other word I'll add to your kind of explanation of it is the notion of privatization. Like, we privatize things that should be seen as for the social and public good. So this is why we talk about how capitalism creeps into a good thing, like wanting to center and champion the voices of women, but they're able to throw it on a t-shirt or on a billboard or put a trademark next to it and make it all mine so that you can't use this phrase in this way or this design to talk about that thing. And so the privatization of it takes away the integrity of what the original goal of the message is. We see this in a bunch of other examples in our society. Let's think about healthcare. Right? Something that is for the public and communal good, that ought to be readily accessible, that ought to be something that we use as a social contract to make sure the wellness of us as a society is left intact. However, healthcare has been privatized. So neoliberalism has allowed for political parties to champion it as something they really care about, that's something they really invested in. But behind the curtain of all of that is capitalism, is the agendas of those people trying to make money off of those ideals of health, of wellness, of collective good. This is why people are so skeptical about how we responded to COVID, how we continue to respond to a whole bunch of things. Because neoliberalism is a question of how we take things that should be of social and political and collective good, and we attach the privatization of how that thing works and functions in the society, which kind of deteriorates the value of it and creates a lot of violence, a lot of marginalization, a lot of all the bad things that come along with capitalism.
It's really how they attempt to like give capitalism that good face. Look, capitalism can be good.
If we explain it this way, shit, how I usually think about it, you know what I'm saying? I guess in my, you feel me, nigga census type perspective is that neoliberalism is how we are able to monetize feelings and emotions. And in a monetize feelings and emotions in a way that we're trying to make society better, but it's predicated off of monetizing feelings and emotions. So for me, how I think about it is the past Super Bowls, the companies in the corporations that are advertising and promoting their services, they're forefronting a humanitarian, like, you feel me, shit, you feel me, or what's the word I'm looking for? What you call it?
Philanthropic, philanthropists.
How to say do this? Like literally, you had, you know what I'm saying, you got beer companies talking about how they using clean,
sustainable. You know what I'm saying? Green trucks.
Like,
our trucks are green.
Right. Like neoliberalism.
we have an electronic fleet.
Yeah, neoliberalism is Donald Trump being like, hey, Donald Trump followers being like, yeah, that systemic racism shit, that shit does not exist. However, we're gonna sell to black people the First Step Act. We're gonna sell to black people the Platinum Plus plan. We're gonna sell it. To me, that's neoliberalism. I'm gonna sell you a feelings and emotion to try to move you in a particular way in my value. You know what I'm saying? But everything we just said is really a combination of all those things.
Look, and I'm not trying to turn this chop into a like a neoliberalism chop, because we definitely need to talk about, you know what I'm saying, the women that's important to us. But this is a great question that's being asked here, right? Like, where the weed at still? The weed is there. What you have now are weed companies that are focused on social justice. There was a weed box that was sent out by one weed brand that I had seen. And the box that they sent had the names of all of these black people that had been arrested and had been in prison all over weed, right? They was advocating for them to get out of jail, while at the same time making billions off the industry that ended up putting them jail in the first place. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
Oh, another one.
I mean, just so many great examples. So like that. Weed and criminal justice, great example. Another great example is Target is the most flagrant ass company I can think of. So many other ones.
This is our example though about the difference in the Chop Up as a podcast and the other podcast. We are intellectuals that are really passionate about dropping jewels on a portable skill so that we was able to hone in as policy debaters. So we
completely off topic.
To the goddamn fun talking about neoliberalism, because it also goes to show when we criticize in February what companies do, a lot of those companies just literally rinse and repeat, drop done with the black shit, pick up woman shit. You see what I'm saying? It's like that's neoliberalism. It's like we don't, you know what?
Hey,
in our company,
when Madden has social justice,
hold on, it's important. Neoliberalism is like this. We're going to monetize the progression of women, but we're still going to pay women significantly less at our business. We don't have no women in no positions of leadership. We ain't got no women getting no raises. However, we will sell your ass some finicky, good feeling shit to make you feel like, yes, those women are doing it, and those women should be there. But it don't mean that they're going to be paying women in terms of keeping that same energy when they're doing a symbolic empowerment.
Yeah,
I'm sorry, that in there. It's about
no. That was exactly that's what I'm saying. That's a perfect example, right? That's a perfect example how neoliberalism works. It'll literally make money off of saying respect women while not respecting women. Period. Period. It's that simple. But so before it gets too late, I definitely want to.
Your last question, because I feel like you definitely want to, you know what I'm saying, get into the Biden shit at least a little bit, because people are looking forward to it. We got it in the title already. But
yeah, we'll keep it brief.
To end off this conscious shop about women's history, or Herstory month. Herstory, but no money for childcare or maternity leave.
Come on, my God. I mean, just the examples are endless. But we digress. Close us out. Check us out.
If y'all don't get nothing from the show tonight, I hope that you've taken a great lesson about neoliberalism and about how neoliberalism invested. It was in Jussie Smollett shit. How neoliberalism is a part of Women's History Month, and how neoliberalism is a part of a lot of the shit that Biden does. But to round this conversation out, who is a Black woman in history that has empowered you the most? Who is a Black woman in history that has empowered you the most?
Yeah.
And that's on Women's History Month.
It's so that's a big question.
It's
I feel like
it's a lot of
man. Look, why? Go ahead and think about it. Why Toya think about it? I can answer this very easy because, like I said at the beginning, I was raised by a lot of women. I had a lot of grandmas, great grandmas. You feel me? My brothers and sisters' grandmas. You feel me? I had a big blended family. You know what I mean? So, like, when you talk about women who like, I'm here where I am today of the lessons that I learned just from women, period. Like, that's why when I learned that like niggas talk the way that they talk about women, or they feel the way that they feel about like this cultural phenomenon that's happening right now with the Black manosphere and shit, it just doesn't make it. It don't make sense to me because of what I was brought up in. Like, I was brought up in a way where like you can't. Like my mama was a strong woman. My grandmothers were strong women. You feel me? They were vulnerable women. Yeah, I mean, they was women. They were intelligent women, hardworking women. I seen it all. You feel me? And they was crazy. A lot, most of them, like my mama, crazy. You feel me? I say that I'm grown. Like I'm grown, so I can say that over the internet now.
Yeah.
And I wish you'd say something. But yeah, like because I was because. Nah, shut up. But because you know what I'm saying, like I like that was my upbringing. You know what I mean? Like, it's like just all of them, all the women that was in my life, like all my grandmas, my mama, my auntie, like it was just they are the reason why I'm here today.
It reminds me, the next time I ask this question, you gotta say excluding your mama and your granny and them.
And that's why I was just like, that's easy for me because I'm always pick my mama. And shout out to Noelle for showing me love. Definitely working with the city of Littleton, trying to work alongside very strong and capable women. The director of HR in the city of Littleton is right here. The assistant director in that department, so many people across that city government who have been working alongside me to have a good time and really boost Littleton to the next level. So I appreciate that a lot. If I had to pick any woman, I'm gonna pick my favorite constant go-to, and I'm gonna also pick my current kind of Black woman who's been on my heart that I really been feeling in terms of Black History Month. So my go-to is always Queen Latifah. I think Naeem and me kind of are on the same page in that. Yeah. In terms of, I'm gonna tell you why. Queen Latifah is, I think she's an EGOT. So I want to say she has an Emmy, a Grammy, an Oscar, and a Tony. So she has killed the game in all 4 categories. She's beautiful, and she is just a tomboy, masculine stud, the soft stud, whatever. I don't know how she identified, but I don't know. She has always been the prototype for me because she just, whatever she pick up and she want to do, and she do it, and her swag and her personality is always kind of one I've identified with.
Yeah, you got that queen energy. Yeah, you got that energy. Yeah, you got that energy.
You know what I'm saying? My name on not Queen. It's not Queen Latifah on Twitter, but it's Khadijah James, you know what I'm saying? And that's just because that whole flavor style of, you know, she was bad. She dressed how she wanted to. Her hair was always laid. She was pulling Montel Jordan. She was pulling Scooter. She was pulling this. Like, it was just, she was just it for me. And if I had to pick a 90s life to live, 90s time girl, I'm glad I got my girl. I wanted to be like the queen, man. I wanted to be like the queen. So even outside of that, I would say I want to tip my hat to Regina King right now, right? Another beautiful creator and producer and just kind of mind in the entertainment industry. And I want to choose her because, you know, recently her son committed suicide, passed away, and she had to deal with that grief very publicly. I think the day after she accepted a huge award from like the Emmys or something like that. But, you know, she's the voice of one of our favorite animes and animated series in the Boondocks. She executive produced and created so many things. She's been around since Friday.
She starred in so many things. Yeah,
started so many things. So when you just really start to put her resume together, she's somebody who has been on my heart here lately. She's somebody I think about often, and who I just want to tip my hat out to, just because she really is the pinnacle of greatness and what it looks like. And for right now, you know, we say we don't want to talk about Black women anymore and characterize what they do by strength, and so I'm with that and I agree. But she is being the example of that right now in terms of, you know, just what she represents and what she's doing. So that's me and my take.
So all right, tonight, hold on, because if we ain't talking about our granny and them, I think I caught that. We ain't talking about that,
man. Shout out to T.S. Madison, the GOAT. You feel me? Definitely somebody there. You know what I'm saying?
The woman that inspired me the most right now is Stacey Abrams.
Yeah,
she a bad motherfucker, bro. Like she a bad motherfucker. I mean, cause like you gotta understand. Like I always said like I never want to. Like I've been to Atlanta. Like I've been to certain places in the deep south, but it's not somewhere that I rock with. Like I never want to live in the deep south. I would never want to live in Mississippi, Alabama, or Georgia. I don't care what city. You know what I'm saying? What community, whatever. I would never want to live in them states just because the racism is so entrenched. I mean, there's a culture of racism. Alabama, Mississippi, Georgia, hell, Louisiana, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's like, you know what I mean? Get like Texas and Florida got Miami. So it's like, it's just its own different type of crazy. But them three, you know what I mean? And for her to be doing what she doing, like creating, like, you know what I mean? Being like a political force in like such a deeply entrenched, dangerous, because did we forget? Did we forget that's where our leaders were? A lot of our leaders was murdered. Like I mean, people trying to like push for change were lynched in Alabama and in Georgia, like in Mississippi. Like that shit ain't no joke. Like, and so for the reason why you don't see a lot of black leadership in places like that is because it's difficult, and she showed it that shit.
Facts.
Yeah.
Stacey Abrams a bad motherfucker, bro.
I guess we leave her giving out too. Shit, historically, and I guess she ain't really even that old because I'm saying historically, but the first black woman that really touched my soul and it really, thinking I had this conversation, I realized has a big part in where I'm at right now. Sister Soldier. Without Sister Soldier, I don't think it'd be a conscious leader. Like me seeing her as somebody that was from the hood, that spoke with confidence about African descendant people, that really spoke her shit to people like Cornel Wells at the Phil Donahue show, and being an author and being an intellectual.
Yeah.
Sister Soldier for me is like really one of the black women that's like I would love and be honored to meet her and have a conversation with her. You see what I'm saying? And then the black woman that's doing it right now, that because of what I'm in space I'm in right now, Issa Rae is living a dream. Issa Rae is the pinnacle of taking intellectual property on social media and turning it into an empire that she's gonna be able to feed generations off of, all off the strength and hustle. You feel me? A straight grinding on social media. So Sister Soldier and Issa Rae, I'm consciously as fans of y'all. If y'all see this, you feel me? If y'all hear this, y'all is doing a damn thing, and y'all don't know how much y'all empower and inspire people. Generations and generations, and y'all should be in the goddamn, you feel me, in the books. And two, shout out to Marsha P. You know what I'm saying? Marsha P. The P stand for pay no mind. You feel me? You know what I'm saying? You got Janet Mock. You know what I mean? I done seen Michelle Obama. We got a lot of people.
Well, they asked how do y'all feel about Michelle Obama? Honestly, ever since Obama's time as president, I've mixed emotions about it. I'm gonna keep it a stack. Because Donald Trump was not only became a viable candidate, but actually served as president, I think Michelle Obama should give it a shot. I think she'd do better than Barack. I think she'd be more popular than Barack. If we keep it at a stack, like let's be for real, yo. Donald Trump set the bar. If we justified 4 years of that, we owe somebody like a Michelle Obama 4 years of rock as for a black celebrity president. Stop playing with me.
Francis Chris Wilson. I remember Francis Chris Wilson. I feel like when I first got woke and conscious, I was really rocking with Francis Chris Wilson. But then when I started getting into being more intersectional and started peeping how she felt like homosexuality was a uniquely white supremacy, you know what I'm saying, and shit, I was like, damn, I don't know about that one, Doc. Yeah,
that's why, you and everybody, if you're anything like, the three of us are, because I know we were subject to the education and elevated education from this particular brand. But if you watch Hidden Colors at its height, you were able to hear a lot of, because even Shahrazad, what's her name? It's a woman.
Shahrazad Ali.
Right. A lot of people who have a lot of interesting surface level, introductory, helpful things to get you.
You got some Shahrazad Ali energy too, Toya.
No, I don't. I do not agree with that woman. She literally said, if your woman want to talk crazy or whatever, you can open hand slap her to get her. And I was just like, ma'am, yeah. Like her school.
No, I didn't say ideology. I didn't say ideology.
Well, I don't wear this cap either, so I'm good. I'm gonna let my locks hang and respect the gangster. And Trina, then check me, fix me, help me understand. But from what I saw and from what I heard repeatedly, that was kind of the perception that she defended. Either way, all of that to say, these people provided Francis Cress
Wilson, Dr. Francis Cress Wilson.
Yes, a bunch of these different. I mean, even Dr. Umar, right? That broken clocks twice a day, they can be right. So in terms of introductory kind of Black liberation, Black scholarship, Black orientation,
you had to know that,
like that was fundamental learning and education, and so a lot of interesting things came from her in that particular segment. But Lee, if that's what you got on that, let y'all decide what we're gonna do. Is we gonna talk about Biden, or what we gonna do next?
We can make it quick.
If we do decide, make it quick, make it short. I'm getting tired.
Yeah, we can make it quick. We can make it quick. And need whole conversation. Just like a real quick political chop. I want to get y'all thoughts in the chat thoughts on a conversation is happening with Joe Biden and him speaking up, talking about we need to get back to work. Mm-hmm. Not specifically talking about unemployment, but specifically talking about like ending remote work and people getting back butts in the seats, all that type of shit. So really quickly, when you hear Joe Biden saying that, now what the numbers say, the statistics show that actually people are getting back to work. Telecommuting is down. People have been returning back to work for a while now, and so his comments is just like, I think, do you know what's going on at all? Like, why is this a priority? Like, it's a lot of shit that's happening in the world, and you trying to tell niggas that they need to get back to work when we see that trending upwards anyway. But when y'all hear them statements, that's me. When y'all hear them statements, where y'all at? What's your initial thoughts, Toya?
I'm not ready. As somebody who has worked from home since March the 13th, 2020. Even despite my colleagues going back to work and teaching on campus, I'm still teaching from the crib. I'm not into it, especially now considering, gas, especially now considering how much my groceries are. I've recently moved to a space that's less space but more money. So I'm still trying to find some balance in, balancing those bills and constantly stuff going up. And so I feel like I have learned and figured out and functioned and contributed meaningfully. My evaluations will prove that much, like I think a lot of other Americans have. My quality of life has improved in such ways that make me feel better about doing my job. So I think it's just kind of weird to overlook all of those components for trying to fill up office space. One of the best arguments I've heard against it, or the real reason why Joe kind of wants us to get back to the office and start working more, is that we got all these big old downtowns, expensive downtowns that we done built and paved over and slathered up with concrete and glass, and we got a whole bunch of businesses that now have found that as a justifiable reason to move their businesses down there. So we got these skyscrapers, we got these big huge buildings and downtown spaces not being filled, so cities are losing money. The city governments are down bad. And so it just shows you the poor planning and the interconnectedness and how we end up being responsible for the failures and kind of thinking through maybe why that system or structure of building a city might not work. But yeah, that's me.
Shit, man. I think that it's a lot of capping and rap that go on without specifically Biden when it comes to him caring about his constituents or trying to build back better. Like, bro, how you building back better if you just prioritizing dry ass putting people in buildings because you feel like the buildings cost some money and you ain't taking into account gas prices or mental health or variants or spikes or like, nah, folks, you really bullshit, bro.
Or global warming.
Yeah. What? Hey, really how it's looking right now, it's like, listen, man, Mitt Romney, Hillary Clinton, goddamn, listen, man, shit. I don't want to vote for
Why those people specifically, bro? Why those people
that came to mind that ran? Hey, the people that came to mind that ran recently. That shit, man. Come back and try to persuade me in 2024, man. You might do something better, goddamn. But I don't want no.
Yeah, like I said, I think we all agree that it's for sure corporate interest. But keeping it brief though. How has like COVID? What has been y'all favorite thing in terms of work that COVID has introduced? Like, what have we learned? I think we talked about this before. Like, I think during COVID we talked about like what is it that we like. But like now that essentially we out of it. California lifted their ban on masks. certain establishments still kind of enforce it. But what have y'all learned about work during COVID? You know what I mean, that y'all think is like, yo, like we can't move forward without it.
Okay, reframe the question. So you said, what is something?
What have y'all learned about work, about working? You know what I'm saying, about labor, specifically doing your job.
Yeah.
That y'all learned during COVID. We ain't know before. It wasn't even a possibility. You know what I'm saying? We ain't know it before. The things that you've come away from now that COVID is over, that you like, yeah, I can't move into the future without this.
The ability. Okay, so the question is I'm gonna answer it in the way that I think is what you're asking me. What things did I realize we didn't need that were kind of excessive or unnecessary? From that, I think meetings. I've changed and shifted my relationship toward meetings. Now I do hate that now every meeting has to be a Zoom meeting, right? Like I don't need to see you. Like we can do having old school conference calls. Like I miss those. But I think the way that we approach kind of meetings and what can happen in meetings and kind of the more efficient approach to having meetings, I've appreciated just because I feel like people got Zoom fatigue. And so now they're a little bit more careful in saying, okay, I want you to stop what you're doing and sit by a screen, even though this is the life we moved to. So that was something that I prefer. Like even, kind of creating meetings around being able to Zoom. Like we do need to meet, but y'all go ahead home, start your dinner, take your stuff out the freezer, do whatever you're going to do, start that load of laundry and jump on. And like, and people kind of want to leave work at work. But I just think the orientation toward meetings has changed. I also think the demand for, one thing that I don't want to see again is like the demand for a certain style of dress. You know what I'm saying? And I get it. Some spaces, some places you want to come in and be recognized and seen for your professionalism. But in other ways, I just think, man, people have had a chance to get into athleisure. They've invested money in whole new different types of budgets. We talk about how people's bodies have changed and transformed. And so clothes ain't really fitting and hitting the same. I just feel like people are, definitely still in the mode of, and we still are in a pandemic where we're doing the best we can. You know what I'm saying? So I'm hoping we can come up with a little less buttoned up, just a little bit more freer, still look good, still be polished, still be clean, be the best version of yourself. But I think the intensity out of the professional look in certain spaces is just, I'll be happy to see that go. That's just me.
For me, I feel like, man, I see mine kind of, I'm answering the question, I guess, in a negative way a little bit. I think that the thing that's going to be around here that I realize that's going to be here to stay, that I feel like it shouldn't be, but it's gonna be here to stay, is the distinction between home and work. Living in Oklahoma, when we had snow days, kids would be out of school and adults would not have to work. Due to virtual learning and distance working and working from home, there's no such thing as a snow day now. There's no such thing as a you feel me? It's like, hey, your kids are gonna be at home with your ass today, and y'all gonna be virtual learning. The job gonna hit you and say, "Hey, man, I know you might got kids at home, but damn it, we still expect for you to work from home." So for me, it's just seeing that it's just ways for a corporate world to circumvent its way into your life to still be like, "Yeah, I know you sitting in your bedroom, but motherfucker, you gotta clock in. You owe me something.
And you know what?
It don't matter if you ain't at work now. You at home, but you can work. Got Wi-Fi. We need it."
Yeah, and I close it out with this, and that's why I think this that Biden pushing, you know what I'm saying, that back to the office type of mentality has everything to do with corporate real estate, because you actually have like Orwellian Big Brother levels of control and access to your employees with the work from home type shit. Like you got a webcam, you got internet, yeah, I got access to you. Period. So when George talk about that deterioration between work and home, it's like there's levels of accessibility that they have access to that they give up whether or not they see you in your seat. But you're gonna be right here though. Like I know I can get you in front of this camera.
I don't know. I feel like I think I work in a more laissez-faire environment where we might have a meeting, but I don't have to have my camera on, or even for my own students. Like I don't have a camera policy. I'm happy that you came to join me. Drive your car, eat your lunch, lay across your bed, feed your dog, play with your little sister. I don't care. I'm just kind of happy that you showed up and you paid for this. So if you want to take notes and keep track of what I'm saying and do kind of the formal class thing, do that. But if not, the only time I ask for my students to cut their camera on is when their classmates are presenting because they deserve an audience. I'm good. I'll talk to the trees. about how to make an argument. Like I'm fine with that. But when your colleagues are speaking, I think they deserve your head, not your smiles and your looks of confusion, so they can figure out what they're saying and say it better in real time. That being said, I think even though, you know, with cameras, it's like, okay, well, this is happening, that's happening. You still need to meet yourself and turn your camera on. I'm sitting here chilling, I'm vibing, I'm looking out my own window. I'm in the comfort of I'll hit a mute, hit a cut off the camera and run to my bathroom, go to my kitchen and get my bed and come on back. And so if I got to do it anyway, I'd rather it look like that. You know what I'm saying? Like if I gotta be in the mix, if you just demand that I show up, I just, you know, I would appreciate
I now say this, and if you got anything you want to add, George, we could close out. But just in response is that that's what happened. What that becomes is that's the negotiation. Like that's the compromise. Like, okay, work from home. Have that camera on though. Because they can demand that. You know what I'm saying? Like, yeah, like, all right, when we in a meeting, you feel me? Dedicated space, you know what I'm saying, for your work. You know, figure this out, figure that out. Like that can start to become how they negotiate these different ways of control outside of just having butts and seats. But that's why the reason why it's so like you can do that, but you choosing to like, yeah, nah, y'all gotta come in still. It's because everything associated with coming in, the gas, like all those industries, you know what I'm saying? Gas stations, fast food, car, like all the things associated with the commute. That's not just the car. You feel me? All the industries associated with commuting. You feel me? They gotta sustain those. Now they are starting to see a comeback in hospitality, you know what I'm saying? Shit, all of those types of things. There's a resurgence in these things happening. So certain industries are getting back to their pre-COVID levels. So it's just like, bro, you ain't gotta sound desperate, my nigga. Like, let this shit like work out. It just ain't a good look.
I mean, I also think you know, there's something to be said too about the level of privilege that working from home accompanies. You know, there are typically people who get to work from home who have the luxury of making those type of decisions, are different, either have a certain type of social mobility or make a certain amount of money or have a certain type of situation. So the other side of this is you know, it is unfair for people who have been essential workers, who've been on the front lines, who have been the people to serve our community and stuff like that, because they've never really had the option of, you know, caring. What you mean go back? I was back after a week. I was back after a couple of days. I went back in that night and just never stopped doing my shit.
I ain't stopped. Yeah,
you know what I'm saying? Right. So there's a level when they acknowledge
essential workers.
Privilege to know that I do a job that I feel like is pretty essential. I'm teaching the future minds and brains of America. But when we talk about, you know, what's really essential, I'm splitting hairs about having to go back to work and stuff like that. And it's people who never left. You know what I'm saying? And I do recognize and realize that.
So
Taiwan might have just goddamn inspired me, man. Listen, we talking about the work week. Peep game though. Don't get so lost in the sauce of American bipartisanship politics that you really dry ass believe that the international realms is really operating off of a Democrat or Republican. Like, get your
responding to that,
goddamn comment section with that bullshit, sir. This is not the place time for it. You see what I'm saying? Like, if you really believe that a Democrat or Republican being in office is gonna, you wilding, folks. Like, your knowledge of international relations is lacking, and your comment is structured but cap. You're not here for it, bro.
Yeah, bro,
like, let it go.
I don't even know why you
because I've heard now, like, well, if Trump was in office, Russia wouldn't have did this to Ukraine. It's like, motherfucker, Trump was trying to withdraw whole money from Ukraine, goddamn. But listen, man, the 40 hours.
Yeah, with that being said, bro,
it sucks. You know, I think we should bring this conversation back to give a little more history and kind of go like a history lesson. You feel me?
We're gonna talk a little bit more about labor next time. We're gonna get more into labor next time. Because it was a few things that deserved a little bit more attention that we had to really get into. Shout out to the healthcare. Shout out to all the essential workers that, like, when we talk about that privilege. Shout out to everybody that held it down while motherfuckers was complaining about not being able to go outside. Everything that y'all did, like, I mean, we only made it because of y'all. You feel me? We made it because of y'all. So
without you.
With that being said, Lee, we'll close out, bro.
Yeah. Hey, appreciate everybody that tuned in. Want to make sure that you like, subscribe, share, goddamn, comment the best part you liked into. You know what? You can even channel your inner Simon Cowell and give us some constructive criticism and let us know how we can take the show to the next level. We've been doing this show for a long time. It was times we was doing the Chop Up Show. We had 0, 1, 2, 3 listeners. You see what I'm saying? So we are very honored that y'all taking your time at y'all busy days, busy nights, and tuning in with us. But yeah, give us your input. You see what I'm saying? Education is elevation. If you want to, if you're interested in booking a Chop Up Show, you know what I'm saying? Y'all remind them of the email right now, slips my mind. But if you're interested in booking a Chop Up Show to come host your event, to come give a tidbit, if you want to do a promotion or advertising for a book, for a movie, for a mixtape, holla at us. You see what I'm saying? We're all about networking and trying to help people elevate the way we're trying to elevate, and we ain't trying to dry ass jump on somebody's shoulders and trying to, hey, take me where you going. No, we're trying to find people where we at right now to elevate with us. You feel what I'm saying? Education is elevation. Damo, you can go on, drop that old intro. You feel me? Shout out to the essential workers, man. We know the folks are switched up on y'all, but y'all still, you feel me, holding this shit down. Y'all the glue.
All right, with that being said,
in the city, we gon' slide, bet I be there pronto. Me, my guys, we really live. Lord, forgive me, pay my tithes. Please don't have me reach inside. And that's in the console. Keep the semi when I ride. Lit off Henny when I drive.